Chapter 2. A flash of lightning pierced through the muddy liquid, dripping down the windshield of the car, now lying on its side, startling Terra. As her eyes adjusted, she could see through an open door. The area was drowning in trees and weeds. She reached over the passenger's seat only to find that Luke was not in the vehicle. She quickly exited the car in search of him. Except for a few minor scratches and bruises, she was all right. From her vantage point, she could not see the end of the road, so she checked around in the vicinity of the vehicle. As she did, droplets of rain began to fleck on her face, and soon the drizzle became a downfall, followed by a quick burst of lightning and several booms of thunder that illuminated the gloomy sky. Not far from where she was standing, she saw Luke's brewer's hat and began to search in that direction for him. Just then, the sound of helicopter blades began to cut through the darkened silence. Louder and louder they became as more and more helicopters entered the airspace above. They began to illuminate the area with dozens of powerful searchlights. In the distance, she could see Luke wandering about. She quickly rushed over to him and asked him if he was all right. She soon learned that he'd suffered a head injury and couldn't remember who he was, or what happened. "What's going on?" "We were in an accident. You were thrown from our vehicle. What's with all the noise and the lights? They're searching the area with helicopters. They should find us soon enough." Terra and Luke began to walk in the direction of the search beams from above when they came into a clearing. What they saw next was not only strange, but frightening. Several hundred feet were flattened. It was like looking at a giant crop circle, but instead of compressed corn husks or wheat and barley, the high grass bushes and scattered trees made up a complex design or message of some kind, and in the very centre was a massive hole. As a research scientist herself, she knew that most scientists, her included, believed that the majority of crop circles, the ones that could be explained, were man-made. But there it was, right in front of her, a puzzle without an answer. Terra immediately began to take pictures of the anomaly from several different vantage points, then ran down to the opening of the dark abyss to get a closer look. As she did, a beam of light began to focus in on her, like a laser beam. Just then, she dropped her cell phone and bent down to retrieve it. As she did, a gunman on the chopper took a shot and missed her. In a frenzy, Terra ran, zigzagging as shots continued to rain down on her. Seconds later, she was hidden in the tree-covered area. Luke was hiding under a large tree. "Over here! Hurry!" When she got to Luke's side, she hugged him, crying and quivering with fright. He did not respond in a like manner. He wasn't cold and uncaring, just a bit detached. "What the hell is going on? Why are they shooting at us?" "We must have crossed over into North Korea. Come on, follow me." "Why? Where?" "We gotta get back to the road, wherever that is, or they're gonna kill us, for sure. Let's go." Terra shouted as she pulled Luke's arm. "Hurry! Soldiers will be here soon!" They both wandered off, disorientated and lost. Soon the area was swarming with soldiers. Luke and Terra watched from a distance under a large fallen tree. The soldiers were preoccupied with the anomaly, while dozens of military vehicles surrounded the large crop circle. Then they turned their high beams on to illuminate the area. Moments later, a black civilian vehicle arrived on the scene, and 4 men exited the car. One man was wearing a black hat. And by the way, the other soldiers saluted the man. It was easy to see he was in charge. Suddenly, high-powered lights began to target the anomaly from atop a hill, behind Luke and Terra. "What are they looking at?" "It's kind of hard to explain. Here, take a look at it on my cell phone," Terra said. "Strange, to say the least. Whatever that is, caused the accident too. I wish I could remember something. Anything." "You will. Give it time. I bet that's the road up there, where the lights are coming from. If you want to go and check it out, I'm ready when you are." "Okay, but we gotta be careful. I don't want to announce ourselves to anyone yet. It's kinda hard to predict how they will react under these circumstances." "I understand. Let's do it." Then, out of their den of safety, they crawled into the pouring rain, cautiously making their way up the ravine towards the safety of the road. Just then, a shard of lightning silhouetted a grimly gaunt soldier. His eyes were as black and hard as steel, and he was pointing his weapon at them. He was dressed in drab, khaki-green uniform. In a loud, shrill voice he shouted out several commands in Korean. Though they did not understand the words, there was no mistaking what he meant, and they began to walk in the direction that he kept signalling for them to move in. "He's one of them bad guys," Tara said. "How do you know?" "Because he's not speaking English." Unfortunately for Tara, she wasn't moving fast enough. Then, without warning, the soldier slammed the butt of his weapon into Tara's back with brute force, knocking her to the ground. As she lay on her belly like a limp doll, he dragged her, kicked her savagely, as he continued to shout out commands, while pointing in the direction he wanted them to walk. In the melee, Luke's face began to flush with adrenaline, and he charged towards the soldier. But before the soldier could get a shot off, there was an explosion of heat and flames, knocking the soldier to the ground. Tara watched in horror as Luke morphed into DragonMan, a savage, armoured, reptilian-looking alien. Tara lay motionless, choking back a gurgle in her throat as if she had seen her own demise. And then, in that horror-filled moment, DragonMan spread his wings menacingly and took flight. In the shadows she could see him moving slowly, deliberately, and inevitably closer. His eyes began glinting in the dark, just before he swooped down over the sadistic soldier and pummeled him viciously until he lay there, blood-stained and unmoving. Tara could say nothing. As hysteria took over, she could only stare in awe as DragonMan transformed back into the love of her life. Someone she thought she knew. Until now. His actions were so violent, so cold, so automatic. It didn't seem real. Though utterly horrified, Tara kept her wits about her, as well as her urge to scream, and in sheer, raw, unrelenting panic, ran. But as nightmarish as this was, nothing could have prepared Tara for what was still to come. A mystery so profound, it could destroy us all.